very easy access to the present moment dimension. Easy access is sensory perception, alert sensory perception, breathing, inner body awareness. Inner body, I sometimes call it a portal into presence. And of course, breathing and inner body awareness are closely related, almost they merge into one. As you may know, I often recommend to start with the hands for people who have never experienced inner body awareness. And that works with people who have no idea what it is that you're talking about. You ask them to close their eyes. Are your hands still there? Yes. How do you know you're not touching anything? Well, I can feel them. It might take a while before they can, because they may be so much stuck in their head that they can't get their attention down there. And then at some point you might say, well, if you can feel your hands, then perhaps you can feel your feet too. Yeah. Okay, well then gradually the rest of the body. That's one entry point. Another one is you start with breathing, conscious breathing, and you breathe consciously, without overdoing it. It'll be a little deeper than your normal breath. And the quickest way is to do abdominal breathing. So as you breathe in, you feel that the air is going all the way into your abdomen. It isn't really, but what goes into the abdomen is your conscious attention, because your conscious attention is following the breath. And as it goes, when it is in the abdomen, it rises slightly, because now the abdomen is full of air. Not really, but that's what it feels like. It feels like that, but it's actually an energy suddenly is there that you didn't notice before, because your attention is moved there. When you feel it's full, then you hold it just for a few seconds. It could be 3 seconds. It could be up to 5 before you start breathing out again. When you reach the end of the out breath, a short cessation before you start breathing in again. That's also a very calm point. The end of the out breath is basically you've died. Miniature death, because every out breath is a miniature death. And then the start of the in breath, you're born again. So the end of the out breath is also just a short pause, just to notice the end of the out breath. There's a still point when the in breath hasn't started yet. And then again you breathe in, hold it, and out. Now the next thing is, while you hold it in the abdomen, you can feel the energy spreading from there into other parts of the body. There's an energetic point. As if you feel that, then from there it's easy to feel the energy spreading into your legs and into the rest of your body. So this is the energetic point. And so a few times a few abdominal breaths, and you are in the body and out of your mind. When you're being plagued by thoughts that are futile, perhaps even destructive, negative, unhappiness-inducing, and you realize that these thoughts, they fulfill no purpose whatsoever, which applies to most thoughts that occur to you. First of all, you need to know, you need that minimum of awareness to know that you don't want those thoughts. If you don't know that you don't want those thoughts, that means you're so identified with the thoughts that you aren't even there. So spiritually speaking, you are asleep, or unconscious, as we call it. So when you're so completely identified that your thoughts become your reality and there's nothing else, so you need a minimum of awareness to know that these thoughts are useless and that you don't want them. But you can't push against them, because by pushing against them or try to suppress them, you actually would strengthen them. And you might even create another set of thoughts that fights the set of thoughts that you don't want, and all that doesn't work very well. Also, to eliminate thought through willpower is also not a good idea, because it doesn't work except work for a short period of time, where holding your breath. But at some point you have to let go again. And that's like you take the lid off the pressure cooker and then you think even more than before. So that doesn't work. So instead of fighting the thoughts, just take your attention away from the thoughts. But then initially you need to put your attention somewhere else, and that is the inner body. So you don't fight the thoughts, you recognize them as not useful, that you don't want them. Then you simply remove attention. You don't feed them with your attention, with your consciousness. So you break this cycle of compulsive, not only compulsive, but actually addictive thinking. When you're deeply identified with obsessive and negative thinking, it also, of course, influences the way in which you act. And this becomes the world that you create, that becomes your reality. So once you know you don't want them, then you have a choice. This is where freedom comes in. One could say you have a choice now. Without awareness, you have no choice. You are on automatic, you're run on auto, you are pre-programmed, and what is running through your mind is the programming, which is the conditioning of your mind since childhood, created by your environment, your personal environment, and your cultural environment. So just a program, then you are a walking program, and you have no choice, because you're so identified with the program, you are asleep. So as you become aware, the element of choice comes in. Then it seems that there is free will, because you can make choices. But you don't exist as an independent, autonomous entity. You just seem to. You're connected to the totality of consciousness. So when it seems to you that you are making choices, for the first time you're making intelligent choices when awareness comes in, it's good to believe that you are making the choice, but if you look more deeply, the consciousness moves through you and is making the choice, and you realize that you are an inseparable part of it. So you're connected to the totality. So you have free choice for the first time. You can become responsible for your state of consciousness. And then, of course, you forget again. Then something happens. You lose yourself again in the conditioning of the mind. And then you notice again the waking up is part of the awakening process that you are going through. It's a process because you're not continuously at the same level of presence. Sometimes you're very present, perhaps here. You may not be this present when you leave here and you arrive at the airport or whatever you do, or you arrive home and you're faced with your daily life again. All kinds of demands come up again, and you lose yourself in all the things that you have to do, and really it means you lose yourself in your mind. And then suddenly you notice this has been happening, and then you wake up again and you take a conscious breath. And you don't believe your mind when it says, I don't have time for a conscious breath, there's too much to go do here. Now, conscious breath is 5 or 6 seconds. If it's abdominal, then immediately it puts you in touch with the energy field of the inner body. And just a short cessation as you breathe out. Hold it for a few seconds. And out. And it's so lovely that you might even want to take a third conscious breath. You feel alive. The body is alive, but it's not just what you feel, it's not just the physical body, it's an energy field behind the physical body. And for a moment, you have transcended the personality, the ego, whatever you want to call it. For a moment, there's something has opened up within you. And then, okay, what's the next thing they have to do? So this is being and doing. But some of this for a little while remains with you. Some of the attention, even if you start doing again, especially if you do this frequently during the day, 2 or 3 conscious breaths many times during the day, makes an enormous difference to your life. And gradually you learn not to completely lose yourself in the activities, whatever you do, in your doing. There is still a point of awareness, a point of stillness, a point of rest, a point of power within you that is not disturbed by anything that happens out there. And so you can still do things. You do them more intelligently. Then, because this connects you to universal intelligence, it's also the seed of the source of creativity. When you use your mind to solve a problem, and you think about it, you might talk about it to somebody, and then you can't find a solution, then it's the time to take 2, 3, 4 conscious breaths. So it's stillness, you become still, and you feel this power that lives in you. And then when you then start thinking again, very often you come up with a new insight or a solution to the problem. And if not immediately, you do it a few times, and then at a moment that you would least suspect, suddenly you have an insight of this is the solution, or this is what I have to do. That frequently happens. And another thing that happens, this is a little mysterious, or some people might call it weird, but when you are connected with the point of power, that is, the entry point is the inner body, it does often bring about so-called chance events or encounters or synchronistic events that happen that seem to be just the right thing for the right moment. Just helpful events happen more frequently. Just meeting the right person, a chance encounter. Nobody can predict in what way. And when you find this actually does happen, that's an amazing thing, that life becomes more helpful, cooperative than it was before. But I'm not implying that life will be free of challenges. No, challenges continue to come, and you need them, because now, as you undergoing the awakening process, every challenge is a great help, because a challenge forces you to be more present. And you will then begin to recognize the challenges as opportunities for being more present. Then you turn up the light, the inner light. And then suddenly there's an earthquake and everything is collapsing around you. Or it could be your death instead of an earthquake. The awareness of death is a wonderful thing. Die before you die. So whenever you take identification away from the egoic mind, it is a kind of death. But it's quite a nice death. If you resist it, it becomes painful, and this is when life is forcing you to experience the ego death. That can be quite painful, but that's ultimately good too.